In the next 10 to 15 minutes, I'm going to share with you my stories and 3 tips on how you can overcome the fear of public speaking and actually start the process of getting better at it. Welcome to the Finding Your Thing podcast. I'm Leon, and I want to build a community for young adults who are still just figuring life out. Every week, I want to share stories and knowledge that will help you and I live better and more meaningful lives. Today, we're going to talk about a skill that you actually need if you want to be successful in any sort of endeavor that you do, because chances are you're going to have to deal with people, you have to manage people, you're going to have to lead. Whether you're in the job situation or whether you're a student or whether you're running a club, public speaking is one of those skills that you really want to develop. And there are a ton of tips on public speaking that I could share with you, but I believe no tip improves your public speaking more than the ability to be comfortable doing it. I think that's the first thing you need to get over, the first hill you need to climb before you actually get better at the act of public speaking. Now, before I go into the process I went through to get better at public speaking, I actually want to go through my experience as a teacher on the main causes of that fear from what I've observed in my students. And the main thing that I've observed in students that are not that good at public speaking, that shy away from it, that are afraid of it, is that they've received constant feedback throughout their lives that they shouldn't speak up, that their opinions aren't valued. And whenever they do speak up, they're usually put down as people that don't have valuable opinions or aren't good at sharing said opinions. And so it then begins this spiral of, I'm not that good at public speaking, but I have to do it for school. I do it. I'm still not good. I do it. I'm still not good. And then it becomes a learned helplessness state that students go into. And I was actually very fortunate to not have that. Very early on in my life in grade 9, my Japanese teacher actually forced me to do a speech competition, an actual formal speech competition for the province in Japanese. And I was super nervous. It was my first ever formal speech. And at that time, I thought I was not good at all. I was so nervous that I over-prepared, even though I still screwed up in the end. I over-prepared, and I remember going in after school, sometimes till 10 p.m. at night for literally the whole month, just practicing this speech, which I eventually got a second place in. And the surprising thing was, after I went through that ordeal of doing the actual speech, I actually felt really, really good, because other people then went up after me to do their speech, and that was when I realized that, I'm actually pretty good. I had a good teacher, but I'm actually pretty good. And I can actually be good at public speaking. And I think the first thing that you need to understand if you want to get better at public speaking, if you want to overcome your fear of public speaking, is the belief that you can actually be good. Like, if you're afraid of getting in front of a crowd and sharing and speaking your mind, the first thing you need to do is just get over yourself and believe that while you might not be that good right now, you can actually be really, really good in the future. And I believe anyone can become really good at public speaking. So last episode, I talked about defining moments, these moments that really end up shaping who you are, your values, your beliefs, your interests, and your habits as a person. That speech contest was a defining moment for me that put me on the path of, presenting is actually not that hard. Like, I'm actually okay doing it. And since that moment, every time we had a presentation at school, I would always be the one that presented. I didn't want to make the PowerPoint. I didn't want to do the research. I wanted to talk. And in that process, an other belief manifested itself. I think when I ask my students, oh, why are you afraid of public speaking? It usually goes to judgment. Like they walk up there, they're afraid that they're not good, and then people will judge them for not being good, that they're up there, but that's a place they're not supposed to be at. That's the place they don't deserve to be at. And that's when the fear and the anxiety kicks in. And I developed an opposite mindset. I started believing that because I'm up there, because I've been given this opportunity, I deserve the attention of everybody that is listening. That if you're not listening to me, well, it's your loss, kind of thing. That was the mindset that I ended up walking up to the stage with every single presentation. And I would still get nervous, but that was how I pumped myself up every time. And eventually that became a natural narrative that I told myself every time I needed to do a presentation. I told myself every time before I presented, Leon, you deserve the attention. And if you want to get better at public speaking and get over that fear of public speaking, you need to believe that because you've been given the opportunity to be up there, which you have, you actually deserve full attention, that it's a privilege the crowd gets to listen to you. Now, did I still get anxious or nervous before presentations? Of course I did. I remember during teachers college, and this was several years after high school, I had to give a lesson. It was my very first lesson to a brand new class. And I got so nervous that I started hyperventilating. I needed to go to the bathroom. I was having a panic attack, literally in the bathroom. My heart was beating so fast, but I went in and I did it anyways. And once the class got going, it was fine. But that anxiety really came from a place that said, oh, am I actually ready to live up to my own expectation of this job? Which at that time was no, because I was new to teaching and I really felt like I was in over my head. And there were many reasons why I decided to become a teacher, but in fact, one of those reasons were I wanted to get better at communication. One, I thought I was already not bad at it, that I was comfortable with it. And second, I wanted to get better. And so my third tip for if you really want to overcome a fear or just get better at something, you actually have to do it. And the best way to actually do it is to put yourself in situations where you cannot avoid it. I mean, during my first few years of teaching, there were days when I taught 3-4 classes every single day and had to prepare for the next day afterwards. And was it tough? Yeah, but I got really good at talking. And so if you actually want to get good at it, put yourself in a situation where you can't even avoid it. So to summarize, tip number 1, believe that you can actually be good at public speaking. Tip number 2, believe that you deserve the attention of everybody that's listening to you when you're doing it. And tip number 3, if you actually really care about overcoming your fear, you have to put yourself in a situation where you cannot avoid it. You just have to do it. With that, let's go to the question of the day. And this question was requested by Jerry on Quora, and he asks, what are 5 habits that can improve my life? Now, there are a bunch, but just off the top of my head and in no particular order of importance, I think meditation, sleeping enough, eating properly, exercise for sure, which I'm missing, and a regular kind of gratitude prayer practice is also very helpful. Those are the kind of my top 5 things that I would go for to improve my life. And I'm not a perfect person, so I'm not perfectly doing all of those 5 things. But yeah, that's kind of it. Thank you for listening to this episode of Finding Your Thing, and I wish you super, super well, and I'll see you another time.